It's 7 o'clock. We will call the special village board meeting to order. If everyone would rise to say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, would please call the roll.
Marevka? Here. Jones? Here. March? Here. Parker? Here. Ham? Here. Dowdy? Here.
All right. Item 2, public comment and or questions. If anyone has a public comment or question, they could step up to the podium and give their name and ask their question or give their comment. Yeah, if there's no public comment, I'll have Melissa, you want to step forward and identify yourself, and or do you want to wait?
Well, Jimmy was supposed to.
Well, why don't we wait for? Let's wait for Jim. Okay. So this is a time for public comment. If anybody wants to give, I know we had a train going by here, so. Was there anybody that wanted to give public comment?
There's a couple more people coming in.
Are there? Okay. That's Jim and Jim. So this will be the last call for the public comment section. Anybody wanting to give public comment or ask a question?
I would like to ask a question.
Okay, if you could step forward, please, and give your name.
My name is William Cuthbertson. I live in the Meadows. I wanted to get a little bit of information first. Where are all special meetings posted? The dates and times for those?
They're posted on the website. They're posted in the box out front,
Okay.
outside of the village hall. They're
Okay.
posted to the village website. Normally there's an agenda posted at the post office also, but that's just more of a courtesy.
Okay.
But they're always posted online on the website.
All right,
And then
that's for all
here at the
special
village hall.
meetings?
It's for all meetings. All public meetings are posted.
Okay. Well, I mean, that was just in reference specifically to special meetings that weren't on the normal, agenda for the year.
Right. Nope. Those are published, 48 hours in advance of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. I
No problem.
appreciate that. Also, this is in regards probably to nobody else is worried about but me. I've been having trouble with drainage in my yard. Obviously, the last few weeks hasn't because of the dry weather, but it seems to be stalled out because of all these other bigger things that are going on. What is a way that we can move forward with that? Because when the winter does come, that is going to be a big problem in my yard and a couple other yards with the drainage issue. I've talked to Public Works. He does have an idea of what to do. However, there's nothing going forward.
Okay.
I just wanted to get
I guess we need to talk.
direction
Yeah, we need
for
to
that.
talk to Public Works. I can always refer it, I guess, to the committee, to the Public Works Committee, if that's something that he needs to bring, to them, if there's something, that needs to be done. But I guess first we need to sit down with Mr. Hankey, the Director of Public Works.
Yeah, he's been out. He's aware of the
Okay,
situation.
so we need to sit down.
we need
We'll
to-
sit with him and get that information from him.
Okay, that's
and-
great. That sounds good. And then, I can't remember, the train flustered me trying to get it.
I know.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anybody else? If not, I know we have representatives from Aqua here tonight just to give us an update on kind of what's going on in their world.
Good evening, everybody. There's some FAQs, lots of information. Obviously, everybody's sure concerned and want to know, hey, what's going on in University Park? A lot of similarities, right? We're going to get a new water source here in Peatone, which is the same water source, so I'm sure people want some updates on that. So just kind of want to give a little background and see what's going on, and, just in a little history here. University Park, our system we've had it for many, many years. Residents, we listened to them, they had concerns with their own wells. They had quality water was hard, a lot of iron on it, some discoloration. So we listened to them. So what we did is We installed a large water main that came basically from Mantino with the Kinky River water. We brought it to University Park. We switched that over in 2000, very late 2017. I hit the train too. Anyway, we started treating at the University Park only this some treatment process to try to help eliminate some of the rust out of the pipes and things like that. Very proven chemical treatment. Didn't foresee any issues, and for some reason we had some chemical reaction, which what it did is, we believe what it did is it eroded what there's an invisible pipe, an invisible lining in everybody's pipe, and it's a very common treatment to have a polyphosphate treating everybody's water system. So what that invisible coating does is it adds that coating to the pipe, so homes that are older, that have lead in their home, and basically the water here, the Kinky River water that's coming up to University Park, it's clean, it's all tested, there's no lead in it, it's all from the older homes. So after we discovered the high levels of lead, we figured it had to be some sort of chemical reaction that we weren't aware of right away. So immediately 2 days after we discovered the high levels of lead, we switched over to an orthophosphate. So, and that's commonly known to then get that coating back on the pipes. The issues with University Park and the timing of it takes a long time to build this up. We're seeing some very positive results. We're testing weekly. I think we're doing like 80 homes a week. And
It's bi-weekly.
Is it bi-weekly? Okay. So we're seeing the levels moving in the right direction. In other words, the levels coming down. It's important to note that, another proven thing is when you flush water out of your pipes, and this is one thing we're asking all the people at University Park to do, flush the water first, then filter it before you consume it. It's safe to bathe in, it's safe to wash your hands in, anything like that. So I guess getting to that is it's an isolated case. The treatment we only did at the University Park pump station to try to help clean the pipes out a little bit. Well, it looks like the chemical reaction maybe cleaned them out a little too good. So we're building this invisible coating back up through this orthophosphate. We have national experts from all over the country. We have a team from Aqua America here every day going over this, and we're taking this very, very seriously. Nobody expected this to happen, and I guarantee you it will never happen again. So
what does that mean,
it means,
for us?
Yeah. Okay. So what it means is we've taken the extra precautionary step. And now, based on our contract, we're going to have your water no later than January 1 of 2020. In exchange for that, then we would charge the same rates that we charge at all the other communities around here. They both had to happen for us to be able to charge those rates and bring them up to what everybody else is in charge. So we made the decision to hold off on continuing the water connection to the village of Piatone until we know 100,000% sure that this will not happen again. So some of the things we're doing in UC Park, we're cutting out pipes from sections of people's houses and running them through chemical tests, bringing them to laboratories. And then part of this is to make sure this never happens again. So there's going to be extra fail-safe provisions and processes in there to make sure that doesn't happen. So I guess the good thing is we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. The people's residents of Piatone will be paying the same amount that we're paying. We don't have the ability to charge our statewide consolidated rates like everybody else is paying until we get the new water source in. This could delay it 6 months, maybe a year. Hopefully it's not that long, but we feel that we're taking the extra precautionary step not to do this interconnect until we know for sure that the regulators are on board, all the chemists are on board, that this won't happen again.
Are you still going to work on extending the main to town
We have,
and not hook up, or just halt everything
right now, we just halted everything.
Okay.
We have all the easements, everything ready to go, the drainage, the design's ready to go. Really, the next step is really just put a shovel in the ground, and the construction process itself is actually pretty quick because it's only like a 3-mile run.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, we just put a halt on it totally until we see some results and we have some reassurances from the regulators and from these chemists and all the people, a bunch of letters behind their name to make sure that this will never happen again. So, any questions on that aspect of it?
So just to reiterate, the rates aren't going to change
Correct.
until eventually, whenever we get connected to the river water, right?
So, obviously,
How does this affect in any way getting the water under 57.
Yeah. So, we're still moving forward with economic development and being a partner with that. So, hopefully you guys get some development over there and get it approved, then we'll just use the existing source here today. And you have plenty of capacity to accommodate that development. And then once, that'll be probably under construction, hopefully, you know, at the same time they're ready to be switching over to water source. But if not, we'll can have the ample water with the current supply that we have today. So it won't impact that at all.
I guess my fear is that obviously this is costing Aqua a lot of money, and I guess I just don't want to find out that your national company says, no, you guys, you know, you gotta stop all your projects. So, I mean, I know, you know, you guys have already fired a few, or put on administrative leave a few people, and I don't know, how safe is your job or Craig's job, you know, that, you know, we've worked with you guys to put this all together, and I don't want, you know, somebody from wherever your national is located to come in to clean things up, and then they're like, well, we didn't promise that, so.
But it was part of the agreement.
It's part of the agreement, I
right.
understand,
Yeah.
but, you know,
Dr. Marsh, and it's a good question, right? Because, okay, maybe there's some uncertainty there.
yeah.
Everything we do and got approved for this deal went through our CEO, CFO, and all, in fact, the board of directors for Aqua America. We're not in the habit of not honoring our agreements. We've been around for 135 years. We wouldn't be here if we did that. This is a little bit different because we want to make sure before we do this is actually safe. We're definitely going to honor that. I feel confident, hopefully I'll still be here. And I know Craig will be here as well, and Melissa and Brian, so the core of the team is still going to be here. And I want to see this happen. I want to see it move forward. I want to see the development move forward and see Peatone grow. We want to grow with you guys. So. There's an incentive too, Dr. Marsh, for that, because that adds more customers to us,
Sure.
too. So.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about your notification system to customers? We had a water main break in town last week, and it was for one block on Ratchie Road, 300 to 400 Ratchie Road. We're under a boil order because, and I talked with Melissa the day after, and she explained that the way you fix main breaks is kind of different than the way we fixed main breaks. When we,
kick that question to
yeah.
Brian.
So Brian, maybe you can address this, but my understanding is like when we fixed a main break in the past, it was more of a band. They would go in, so water would continue to flow while they were in the hole working on that, and they could band it and fix the break. Where your process is more of going in, taking out a section of bad pipe and replacing it. So it's a little bit a bigger fix than what we previously did, but when that happens, the pressure drops below 20 psi, and that is what triggers the boil order, correct?
Great. Good.
So if you can come over, don't trip over the cords.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Brian O'Keefe. I am the field supervisor for Aqua. This is all part of my territory. Melissa's the area manager and she's my direct report. But the process, the reason that we do the full repairs is, one, we always want to replace pipe. We always want to have good pipe in there. And yes, you can throw a band on there and you can keep everything going, but there's two different issues with that. One, we're not replacing pipe and we're not restoring the system, whether it's 3 feet at a time or 10 feet at a time. At least we're putting back in quality pipe, and we know that we're not going to continue to expand that. The other reason of it is partially for costing the job, whether we capitalize a job or whether or not we expense a job, and it makes a difference on how the rates are adjusted and all of the different pay items that everybody would have to go through. We always prefer to put back in replacement pipe whenever we can. It's the best way to fix things. Yeah, we can keep the water on and we can keep the water moving by putting a band on there, but pretty soon you're going to wind up having Band-Aids all over the place if we do that. So we made a conscious decision to make repairs based on certain criteria. If it's a hole, if it's a split, makes a difference on what the decision is on how we make those repairs. Now, the notification process is something that has really been in place probably only for a few years. And I talked to all of the fire chiefs, and I try to go through the village hall and the mayor's office. And what we have is a very specific form that we send out that identifies the public water supply system. And there's 3 different headings on there. The first one is a phone call that goes out to all of the residents that are in the system, whoever has an account. Now, you're supposed to be able to sign up, and we encourage everybody to sign up for the Water Smart Alerts as often as possible and make sure that we've got all the correct numbers. Occasionally, people change phones. They never think to go back and change numbers, so we occasionally miss people that are in the system that might not have an accurate phone number in our system for these phone calls. So the first part of that boil order is a phone notification, and we actually make a phone call recording and we call everybody that's on there.
Whether or not they're signed up for the Smart Alert or not?
Correct. It's gonna go to Banner, it's gonna look into Banner, it's gonna find that phone number.
It's gonna call whatever phone number we have in our system. So we have to have a phone number, and like Brian said, it has to be a valid phone number.
Okay.
And if we don't have a phone number, it's not gonna contact you. I don't know if I can
You're
hear it.
fine.
It doesn't really sound.
No, you're fine.
But these, I'm gonna hand these out. So Water Smart Alerts, you can register, you can get 3 different notifications, and then Brian was gonna get to this, I know he was, he just likes to talk a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
But it's either a phone call, an email, or a text message, or all 3. So if you go and register for this, you can choose how you wanna be notified. If you do not register, we will call the phone number that we have in our system. So
This is something that
everybody
was,
needs
this
to
was
do
something that
this.
was mailed out when Aqua first started doing billing, I believe.
It could have been mailed, I would have to double
I think
check.
I remember getting one in the mail. I'm just speaking
I'll hand
from
these out
that.
to you guys, and I got a whole stack of them that you can leave in the office.
But I did post this on
Thank you.
the Village Facebook page also, so that information is up on the Village Facebook page also.
And it's on our website.
And it's on the website also.
I think a lot of it has to do with, is it an emergency? I know in this particular case, it was emergency, somebody bored a hole right through another contractor bored a hole through a pipe. And if something was to be different, if something was planned or replacing 2-mile pipe, stretch of pipe.
Well, I go stand back in the corner now.
No, you're,
Really, I think it's a good point, Jim. In this particular case, what had happened was Nicor was working there. USIC is the ones who does our locates. They bored through a customer service line. One of our criteria for emergency repairs is customers without service. We typically try not to go out unless it affects a healthcare facility, it presents a public hazard, or if we have customers without service. Those are the 3 things that are going to require us to call somebody out. We had a customer without service, which automatically creates an emergency situation. So in this situation, because they were so close together, we couldn't even stick a valve in. If we have restaurants or healthcare facilities, we will actually dig up and we'll stick a special valve in and we'll try to isolate where that main break is at. But in this case, it was only 350 feet apart, so it was very difficult. There would have been no point in us sticking another valve in there. Because we probably would have gone from 4 people out to 3 people out. So it really wouldn't have had much of an effect. So in this particular case, it was an emergency, and we really don't notify anybody because we have to get out there and fix it, except through our Swift Reach alerts. And then if there's only a few people involved, a lot of times our guys will actually go around and they'll knock on doors and say, hey, we're going to put you out of water temporarily while we make this repair. I think when we get to bigger ones, then we really rely on the smart alerts. If we're going to schedule everything, which I think probably not too long from now, we'll be scheduling some hydrant replacements because we do have some hydrants in town that are going to have to be replaced. We try to work with Chief Schreiber on that as much as we can. So people will be notified ahead of time if we have to shut down lines in order to replace hydrants. And then getting back to notifications again, we try to make sure board changes from time to time too. So we always try to make sure that we're contacting the village hall to make sure that we get the right people that need to be notified. Typically it's the mayor. We always want to notify the fire department. One of the things I've learned is it's embarrassing when residents call up and say, hey, how come I don't have any water and you guys don't know anything about what's going on? So we want to make sure the village hall knows, people inside the office and the staff, everybody is aware of what's going on. So that's really how our boil water notice works.
so when the boil order is done, like it says, 24 to 48 hours, do people get contacted and are told that it is finished, or how does that work?
It goes the exact same way. Swift Reach notification goes right back out that says the boil order's lifted, and you get the phone call, text message, and email, all 3 back to the same account that says that the boil order's lifted.
So the notification process is awesome, right? Technology today, phones, everybody lives with them. But it's only as good as the information we have, so the more we get people on this, the more they can be notified. Somebody doesn't get notified because they're not signed up for it in the middle of a block or something like that, so.
Somebody gets
And
notified.
the program works really neat because we actually have a map. So we have the program's actually called Swift Reach. So you go in there and you draw a map and you use the GIS system and you pick the houses that you want to be notified. And then we can import that data and only those customers are notified. So when we started doing this, Brian can probably give all kinds of stories about Bradley, Bourbonnais, Kankakee. People get really confused, villages get confused, they want to post it, like whole systems under boil water. We try to specifically say only certain customers are affected. We try to list those blocks that are affected. So it's really important for everybody to know that when you get that phone call, it is usually not a system-wide. If it's a system-wide, it's going to say it's a system-wide notification, entire village. Usually we can isolate that main break, so only certain customers will be affected.
So in the case of a water main break like this, how does your customer service people get involved, or how are they notified what the area is and who's affected, so when people call in, they know what to tell them?
We actually have two ways of doing that. One is our computer network, which is called InfoStream. There is a posting on there for customer service.
Same notification that customers get.
And it's the exact same notification as we send out to all the villages. And it says on there specifically what the addresses were, what the reason is. And they also, when the hours, I think they're until 5 o'clock at the call center, and then it goes to an on-call company that we use for customer service, and they're also notified of the exact same thing. So everybody has the same data. Fortunately, in this case, when we back-checked with everything, I got a call from Bob Hankey that night, and he was asking me about it, so I right away called up to make sure that our answering service did in fact have the right information that they did.
Yeah, that was the reason for my question.
Right.
Because some people were saying that they were told different things about the affected area, how long it was going to last. So I just wanted to make sure that your customer service knows exactly what you guys know. So they're singing the same too.
Yeah, this particular situation is almost exactly the same thing that happened in Bradley. We had one block on Center Avenue out. Somebody texted their parents in Bourbonnais that they didn't have any water and they're under a boil order, who texted it out all over Bourbonnais. So we had all of Bourbonnais and all of Bradley panicking that everybody was under a boil water.
Yep.
And it was only for one block.
And that's kind of
That's
how,
exactly
yeah, a
what
little
it was here.
Facebook
Yeah.
mania.
Yeah, we encourage you not to use Facebook, but it's really kind of hard to
Right.
control.
Well, that was
what
just-
others do.
And call customer service, and I know people make mistakes, I'm not saying anybody
Right.
didn't get bad information they could have. I know I looked up several different accounts, it looks like everybody got good information that I looked at, so.
And this company that takes over after 5 o'clock has the same information that your
Correct.
customer service.
Yeah, everybody gets the same email.
Same text and everything.
So, I'm asking.
So,
this time,
Amy, so if you're going to speak, you need to stop. I don't want to turn this into a big
No, I
thing, but
they have the same.
could you identify for the record?
Amy Maxinon. My question is, I called, when I saw it on Facebook, I called and I called the customer service line and gave them my address, and they said, no, it's these addresses. And then we kept seeing people talking about it, so he called, gave them our address, and the person he talked to said it was the whole area. Yeah, same house, same address. And the person we talked to from Aqua said, yes, it's the whole town. You're under the boil order. Same thing happened with our neighbors. One person would call and they said it was this block of addresses, and another person would call and they'd say it was the whole town. That has to be, yes, people get worked up on Facebook, but you have to have some kind of consistency. If they're getting the same information, then everybody should have been given the same information. I don't think anybody would panic if that would happen,
There was an
Yeah.
issue with customer service.
Okay.
And I talked with Melissa Actually, I talked to Jim that night. I talked to Melissa the next morning. Bob Hinkie, our Director of Public Works, was on the phone with Brian that night. So we got involved right away, trying to make sure that we knew what was going on. That's why I posted something on the Village Facebook page right away, trying to clarify it. And then Bob posted on another page, just trying to get the correct information out, just so it was out there. Again, I think we had a blip. Hopefully, we won't have another blip. We'll just have to go from there.
Yeah.
But it was immediately concerned by us, and addressed by us right away too. As soon as I was made aware of it.
We understand that there was a glitch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In that, along with that, the 300 to 400 RAFG that was affected by the boil order. So our lines come directly off of that to go to my neighborhood. How do you keep it contained to those houses if those are the same lines that we get?
It's a valve. There's a valve on, I can't remember the streets off the top of my head, but right in between the two streets is a street, they're kind of offset a little bit. 300 is on the intersection of Ratchie and
Garfield.
Thank you very much. There's a valve right there at that corner, and then on the other corner, there is a valve there. So what we do in the shutdown is we wind up shutting both of those valves down. Now, once the repair is done, we only push water one direction to make sure it doesn't get all through the entire system. So we leave just the one valve open until we're confirmed that all of the samples and everything have passed. So that keeps it from circulating throughout the whole system.
And then you don't have to flush that?
No, we do flush that. Before they ever do, they'll sit there and they'll flush water through the system, and then we have to pull our samples off of the hydrants. And that's what we get our samples from. And it's incredibly rare if we ever fail a sample. I'm not gonna say it never happens, but it's incredibly rare. And typically when we do, it's because they don't clean the faucet or the nozzle enough on the hydrants. And we get a little bit of drippage and dirt off of the hydrants. That's usually about the only times we ever.
Do you guys have a program for hydrant flushing too?
Yeah, we do. We actually have a
We used to see
program.
Piatone quite a bit. We have one on our property, and I haven't seen one.
No, we haven't even been through Piatone yet this year. I gotta be honest, we kinda got hung up quite a bit here in University Park with a lot of resources.
I remember seeing a little red truck come out a lot on my property, but I haven't seen it since.
Well, it'll be a white truck this year, but, yeah, we're just really behind right now on our flushing program. We did get some of the subdivisions up north, and we're starting to work our way back down this way.
Does that have anything to do, we don't drink the water, but we have a dog with a stainless steel bowl, and we've been noticing before this recent thing, we have a little new thing of scum around the stainless steel bowl that we haven't had before. Would that have something to do with not flushing the hydrants out?
No, that really wouldn't have anything to.
No, it's just like a scum, kind of
Like a white scum?
Yeah.
We have it on a fish tank too.
Yeah, that's more hard water.
Yeah,
Well, we haven't changed our softener or
or
anything.
dog slobber too.
All right. Any questions from the board for the representatives from Aqua? All right.
I have one.
Okay.
Have you changed the chemistry at all and what you guys were using to treat our water still on the well from what Piatone had been using traditionally?
No, chemistry is still the same for Piatone. We haven't changed anything. What I can say with what happened in University Park, we are bringing people out to look at all of our systems to kind of evaluate all of our chemical feeds. It's an audit. It's going to be part of the audit that we're doing. But no, we have not changed the system for Piatone.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I will tell you that I know if you guys have my number, I'll be more than happy to leave cards. If there's any questions about boil orders or anything like that in the middle of the night, whatever it happens to be, my phone's on 24 hours a day.
So
You
it's
can call these guys, but they're not gonna know anything because that's not really what they do.
I'm calling him.
Yeah,
That's what happened. I called Jim. Jim called him. So,
all of those go through me,
okay.
so,
All right. Good.
and I'll drop off some of my cards.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's move on to item 3, purpose. Item A, adoption of an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of an annexation agreement with Bagwadi Properties and Sioux Hospital for property located at the northwest corner of Wilmington Piatone Road and 88th Avenue. And I will say that there was a public hearing held on July the 8th as part of our regular village board meeting, the first meeting in July. We actually moved that meeting to the Piatone High School just to accommodate any larger numbers of people that would come and comment at the public hearing, and we had, besides the people from the school that were there, we had 2 residents that came and commented at the public hearing. So that public hearing was posted, it was legal noticed, and it was part of that July 8th meeting. All right, Amy.
Okay. So I think this project has been before you, discussed in different forums or another for long before I got here, I think. But this is a travel center hotel project on the northwest corner of I-57 Wilmington Peatone Road. It's about 22 acres and about 2 parcels. So you have the annexation agreement before you, and many pages, lots of, so basically that annexation agreement before you is a contract. Annexation agreement is contractual language, and you can jump in any time if you feel like it. That just contractual language that we've been working on for a while with my predecessors and then with me and Mr. Suhas Patel, who's in the audience here, on the parameters on which we would annex the property into the village limits. It is a travel center, a truck stop, so there are truck parking, weight scale, convenience store. It is a unique concept, I think, that it is not your traditional travel center truck stop. It has a 2-story concept. So there's like a lounge area on the 2nd floor, and then the convenience store on the 1st floor. And it has amenities that not many truck stops have. And it is the hotel is a Holiday Inn Express, 3 stories on the property. There is a standalone restaurant pad there on the property. There would be probably, I think, Mr. Patel is looking at 3 kind of fast food restaurant types in the actual truck stop store. So it is a very large project for Peatone, and if there's any questions on the annexation agreement, I'll be happy to answer them. There's a lot involved in a project of this size. You know, we've looked at on-site improvements, off-site improvements, with the improvement of 88th Avenue and Wilmington Peatone Road, drainage, utilities, easements, right-of-ways, TIF district, lots of components to a project of this magnitude. You know, it would be one of the first projects on that side of 57.
Be the first.
Yes.
The first.
Yes, the first ordinance on today is to authorize the approval of the annexation agreement. And as Amy has said, the annexation agreement, and I think you've all gotten it and seen it, is very extensive. It's been in the works with Mr. Patel for, I don't know, at least a month. If more. And maybe 2 months in terms of the actual drafting of the agreement. It is extensive. It provides for the development of the property in accord with the plan that's noted there. It has numerous provisions, protections for the village in terms of the dates by which construction's got to start, the dates by which it's to be completed at a certain level. As you know, it provides for a grant that the village is going to give to Mr. Patel to purchase the property, which is $1,300,000 provided for in the annexation agreement. That money is to be repaid to the village through the TIF and through other revenues that we'll receive. So that will take place at a certain point in time. But what I want to say is the annexation agreement has conditions on it and in it. And one of them is that there has to be a letter of credit issued by Mr. Patel backing up essentially the grant, so that if he does not develop in accord with the agreement, timelines and everything that has to be done, then we could get our grant money back through that letter of credit. And that's an important concept, and that was one of the things that took some time. That and the idea of providing that grant. Everything else you'll see when you read it is a lot of the what she said. We'll talk about the lawyer talk,
The legalese.
the legalese, the indemnity provisions, all of the clauses there, and it is a fairly complex agreement. Every one of these annexation agreements with a project like this is complicated. You can see all the points that have to have been covered there, and they are all covered very well. And we're satisfied with the agreement as protecting the village as best we can in this sort of a situation. So with that, I'll keep quiet, and if anybody has any questions, I can.
Right, any of the trustees, you've had the document, a chance to, we've looked at several different versions, but you've had the most recent, pretty much final version here.
Yeah.
And so, any questions or comments, or?
I guess trustee Baum brought up before the meeting, I had a question too about who gets reimbursed first from the TIF. Is it as far as do we get reimbursed for the purchase of the land first before he gets reimbursed for the development on 88th
That
Avenue?
will be in the redevelopment agreement. The exhibit shows, which you probably saw, Exhibit H, which took some time, there was some negotiation over that, as to who's paying what part of the fees. The cost of 88th Avenue is going to be, hopefully would be reimbursed out of, TIF revenues, as well as the grant repayment. But the redevelopment agreement, once that comes forward, which it will at some point in time, will define those aspects of it, and will also define how much of the TIF revenue is going to be reimbursed for what purposes. There are any number of purposes that you'll hear when they talk about the TIF next week, that TIF money can go towards. Any kind of infrastructure, the property acquisition, it can actually go to bonded debt, or debt that the developer has. If he has taken out loans and there's interest, you can use TIF money to do that. But the extent to which we're going to ultimately, let's put it this way, divide or allow for the use of that TIF revenue will come in the redevelopment agreement. And that has to be, negotiated. Usually, we'll have some kind of, give and take on that. Obviously, Mr. Patel wants his money back as fast as he can get it. There's no question about that. And obviously, we want our money back as fast as we can get it. The whole key, and this is the most important thing, aside from just good faith and everybody working together, the key is getting the development up, running, and going, because that's what's going to generate the revenue. So that's the key to it. And as I said, in the annexation agreement, we've been pretty careful about time limits and that sort of thing. In the event And Mr. Patel has to demonstrate he has the financial capacity and all of those kinds of things that are in the agreement. In the event that the development is not done in accordance with the agreement, that's why we have the letter of credit to protect the grant investment in the property. So,
So if the whole thing falls apart, we'd get reimbursed theoretically the purchase price, and we'd own that.
well, if
We'd own
that,
that
yes,
section
if
of
that
the property,
ultimately happened, yes,
That's what
but
I'm-
we don't.
Right, I don't anticipate that, but I mean, that's what we're protected.
Because assuming he doesn't develop, yes, I
Right.
mean, assuming he just starts working and then next year says, I'm done, I'm
Right.
not. But Mr. Patel's here, and I'm sure he's going to assure you that that's not his plan.
No, I understand. We don't want
you
that
know,
to happen
he
either.
would- No, we don't want that to happen, but he has a very sizable investment in this, project and development, and, barring some kind of a catastrophe that
Right.
no one can foresee, it would be very unexpected that anything like that would happen. He could address that for you, too.
But on the 88th Avenue, he's paying for the development of 88th Avenue.
Yes.
So he's incentivized to get the project up and running. So
Well,
he
yes.
can pay himself back for the,
Yes, that is
so
correct.
he's taking that risk.
Yes.
The project
Oh,
blows
yeah.
up, he owns a street. Or
Well,
the improvements of the
He's
street.
taking a number of risks,
Right.
yes, as are we, to a
Yeah.
certain extent. There's always that in a development. I remember a few that, fell apart in 2008 that we never expected, to have happen. But it all looks very sound at this point, and the agreements are, finished and
Can
in
we,
pretty good shape.
can we ask Mr. Patel questions?
Sure.
Is that okay?
As long as he's willing to
That's why
answer.
it's here.
Hi, Mr. Patel.
Good
See-
evening, everybody.
So you changed it to the Holiday Inn, which is good.
Yeah.
Somebody that, a brand that's well recognized. Do you have the franchise agreement?
It's been in the works right now.
Mhm.
I forwarded the last email to Amy. They are going through their franchise committee this month.
Okay.
So, the application has been put in with the $50,000
Mhm.
franchise fee.
So it's not cheap.
And, they have to approve it, through their franchise committee, which we don't see any problem, but we don't have the license in my hand
Yeah.
yet, so.
And you own other franchise,
Yeah.
hotel franchises. But how long is the agreement for? How many years?
The agreement is for 20 years.
Oh, it's 20 years. Okay. That's good news. I guess it's me.
Go ahead. Sure.
So I just had a question on there was one section which I didn't understand. It's called improvement security.
What page, Ben?
Is it 8? Yeah, just look at mine.
Oh, sure. H?
Yeah.
Improvement security, yeah. Yeah, I know.
So it's talking about finishing the project and doing the landscaping and doing the sidewalks and stuff. And it says that he'll post a bond of not less than $5,000. Is that the only guarantee for him to finish the final grading and the landscaping and all that, or is there another provision somewhere where he will?
No, that is not the only, the only provision. The bond is there until you get the temporary certificate of occupancy. There are other provisions that require these improvements to be made. And as I said, if there is a default, or if there is a violation of the agreement, we have a number of means to enforce that that agreement.
To have him finish it off and make it look nice and,
Yes,
okay.
yes, and he has to comply with all of our codes and ordinances generally with regard to these things: sidewalks, the public improvements, the private drives. The landscaping will be finally approved later on the landscaping plan. The basic landscaping plan has been reviewed by P&Z, and we've looked at it, but the fine points, will still be looked at, further as to what the plantings will be, calipers on the trees, that kind of thing, exactly where they're going to be put. And some of that depends upon some of the engineering left as to the, they finished I haven't looked to see, they finished exactly where there's going to be ingress and egress on the two properties. I think they've pretty much set that out.
Well, I think they did conceptually, but
Yeah.
their final engineering plans are not
Not
finished
done,
yet, I
right.
believe. Right?
So,
It's almost ready.
Okay.
yeah, so they'll be there. But obviously, the landscaping plan and everything changes if you move the ingress road here as opposed to here. So those final things will be done and all looked at that point.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
I think in the agreement, it doesn't say anywhere, that, it's giving me the option to open the place without having all those things completed, So that would be part of the, the building department and, everybody, who's going to,
So it's just-
look at the project.
Yeah.
For a temporary occupancy.
Right, for temporary
Okay.
occupancy, really one of the only things there is, I think we are going to, if the pavement can't be put in
Right.
due to the winter months, we have a temporary allowance for, it's not really just gravel, but essentially.
Like a compacted.
It's like a compacted base before the paving is on. And that is limited also in the agreement because the timelines for getting all of that done are there. But that is weather dependent. You can run into a situation where you just can't, lay the asphalt, then you may have to wait another month or two to get it in. So we do want them up and running as soon as it would be appropriate to do that. The sooner the better for us and, of course, for Mr. Patel. And this also kicks in tonight Aqua's obligation to drag the water and sewer over there when we get done with the ordinances tonight.
The liquor licenses.
Yeah, that's,
So the travel center is going to have a liquor license for package sales and on-premise consumption?
The on-premise consumption is for the
Hotel.
lounge, the trucker's lounge
Okay,
upstairs.
okay.
and I think also for the hotels.
And
As
then
I remember it.
and then also the hotel, correct?
But the hotel will just have the on-premise
Correct.
consumption and
Yeah,
not package
not
sales?
package.
Correct.
No package sale.
Correct.
So we don't have to change our ordinance other than...
No, because we have to, anytime we issue a liquor license, it has to be created by
Right,
ordinance.
but we're not going to create we don't need to create another class of...
No,
I don't think so.
no, I don't believe we need another class. I have to look, I recall the agreement briefly on that, but that also is to come. The ordinance would be there to allow for those two additional,
Right.
I believe, two additional licenses.
Right.
And, that can be varied, depending on what is going
You
on.
might
out
have
there.
to, if there's gaming in the C-store.
Oh, there's that too.
So
the
you
gaming license.
might have to change your ordinance to accommodate that.
I think as far as I remember, know it is the video gaming in the truck stop doesn't require on-premise or even off-premise. The video gaming, if you are selling more than 50,000 gallons of diesel fuel, you don't need no liquor at all.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So I don't think the video gaming has any tie to this, but, because, we are trying to get combined license on and off-premise, would take care of, what my needs are.
What's roughly the build cycle? I remember P&Z had a lot of questions about building the gas station, the convenience store, and then the hotel and the restaurant. What's your timeline look like roughly?
So, the travel center, because we are putting both together, so, maybe like, once we pour the foundation on the travel center and get the site ready, we pour the foundation on the hotels too.
Okay.
So, once everything is done, I would say, the travel center would take about 15 months,
And, once, if we start the hotel after 60 days or 90 days, that will, complete everything within that 18 months period.
And then the restaurants are last.
The inside restaurant would be, once we know the vanilla box and, everything, it would go right away.
Okay.
So the restaurant build out would not take more than 60 to 75 days. Within the space like 3 restaurants, they would not, take too much time because it's just the interior build out. There's not too much to it, The travel center, there's a lot of challenge with all the parkings and, all the concrete work and, asphalt work and everything. There's a lot of bare ground that we have to furnish, and that's where the most of the challenge will come. The building, 18,000 square foot building under the roof, then we can start working inside. At the same time, all the underground tanks and the petroleum pipes and all the site work can go. So I would say about 15 months. And, the hotel starts 60 days after, we start that. They will put it, into that 18 months time frame to finish everything.
60 days after you've started the travel center?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the restaurants inside the C-store, inside the truck stop? Because you and I have had some conversations about it, and you're in process of working on those, but you've maybe run into a few snags, and I just want them to understand.
I try to approach like 3 different, the franchisee who has a Dunkin' Donut, because the franchise, they would not give me the franchise. They only have, they only give it to the existing people. They don't have any new, room for any new, incoming franchisee. So I approached 3 different franchisees, and the feedback from the corporate is coming negative. They are saying this as a, 4,200, population, small community, and, the franchise is saying that, the development would not support, for their franchisee. So, I have some, setback with the Dunkin'. So the other 2 restaurants I'm taking on myself. The one, I already have a franchise agreement, it's a Charlie's Philly Steaks. So that is already, under my belt. And I'm working on another franchise called Hothead Burrito, which is like the Mexican, the burrito and, the chipotle style, the burrito concept. So those are the things that I can take it upon myself. I was trying to get the Dunkin', but I have some setbacks, so I'm still working on it. I might have to cut down my rent to bring them in. But, as a developer, if I look at the term of the lease for, 20, 30 years, it's almost like more than $1 million loss for me. So, I'm thinking about, maybe opening the travel center with the 2 restaurants, build out everything for the drive-through, and then wait for my time, to get more rent. That's an option. In the meantime, because this is going to take another 1.5 years, like to start, once, let's say we, start breaking the ground, it's going to take about 18 months. So in the meantime, if they come across or if I find something, so that's how, my game plan is. The 2 restaurant and the travel center is already under my belt, so there's no, no question on those. The Dunkin', I'm still trying to get those guys in, They want like $2,000 rent, all in, so they want like, it's not going to cover my property tax, I mean, the tax then can be half more than that tax rate, so I don't know what to do with it,
Other questions for Mr. Patel from the trustees? Comments in general?
The assignment portion of the agreement. You guys are really good, because I didn't understand a word of it. So who can he sell it to, and how much can he sell it to?
Well, selling or assigning, first of all, any sale or assignment would carry with it all of the obligations of the agreement. That's point number 1.
Yeah.
Point number 2, we have to approve it. We cannot have an unreasonable refusal to approve, but we would have to, the village would have to approve that. And basically, when we talk about unreasonable or reasonable, it is the financial ability of the person who is getting the assignment. Or, for example, it could be something very simple. It could be a different corporation that he also owns. that is sometimes done. So that's essentially what the assignment provision provides. And there can't be any unless we consent to it.
So I think we're making the deal with Mr. Patel, and
Well, we are.
I don't want him to stick around. I don't want him to take off on us, so.
Well, I think he anticipates doing that. But any good attorney for him is also going to say, look, if there's financial issues or problems, it's just like, anything else. If it comes down to it and you may have to look for, somebody that's got the financial.
But he would have to sell it to somebody with means to operate it.
Yeah, well, yes, or assign it, yes.
Okay.
But the agreement stays in place. Whoever was to take over would have to be willing to take over everything, all of the obligations and everything that they have to do. And secondly, we would have to approve it.
Okay.
And we wouldn't approve it unless we knew that the proposal was going to be okay and that the corporations, whatever, are going to be strong and able to, carry it out. And I'm sure Mr. Patel isn't interested in an assignment at this point or even thinking about it.
If something happens drastically,
Yeah, I mean, it's just a protection there that I think any business, would insist upon. It's common provision in there. What we wouldn't agree to is an assignment without our approval. That we would be saying, no, we won't agree to that. If they say, yeah, we want the right to assign, and we say, only if we approve it.
Other than financial stability, what would be another reason for denial?
Well, I mean, character, I suppose, if you had the feeling that it was the mafia that he assigned it to. I mean, I'm just saying off the top of my head. The primary one is, of course, the reputation of the persons that he would assign it to. Let's say, I don't know, who runs Pilot? Let's say it's the Pilot organization that runs truck stops all over the country. They have local resources, there wouldn't be any, good reason that we could say, well, we wouldn't approve that. If it's just a small entity that we have no experience with, or nobody really does, then we would almost inevitably say no. We aren't going to allow that. And there are sometimes for business transactions, I mean, there's the corporate entity that's there. Sometimes there are, related corporate entities that are created, but they're owned and controlled by the same people. And that happens from time to time. Like you have your LLC, and you create another LLC, you own both of them, and the one LLC wants to transfer or assign assets to the other LLC, it'd be the same, essentially the same thing, in terms of the stability or the capacity of the people to run it and take care of it. They just have two different corporate entities or three. We see quite a bit of that occurs.
Do you have any intentions down the road of breaking part of it off and selling it off?
No.
Any other questions, comments, concerns on the annexation agreement? Go ahead.
Just a couple things you notice in the agreement. We added exhibits this time. So I'll just point out a few things then. On page 17, AB 4.4, we just made a correction to the agreement. under, where section 4.4 would be the 88th Avenue and Wilmington Peatone Road access points. So you have, I gave you an extra sheet. It looks like this. So we've got strikeout language. So that would be the change that we would make to the